Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Brev. Welcome to another MLB The Show 22 video. I know I'm pretty late on this video, but I'm still getting a lot of requests from you guys to go over the cards from this new Legends of the Franchise program, so we're going to go ahead and do that today. There are 30 of these cards. A lot of them are really juiced, and you get 18 of them from just doing the program. At this point, a lot of them are pretty cheap, like the AL East cards are like 30k now. They'll drop even more as more ways to get XP come out, so instead of really telling you who to take out of the packs, I'm just going to go through the cards one by one, kind of give my opinions, rate them in a rough tier list format like SAB compared to the other cards in the program, or like compared to how well they might make your God Squad. There are a lot of good cards in this program, and depending on your preferences and if you really end up clicking with a card, a lot of these cards could end up making your God Squad. Obviously, they're all 99s. So let's start off with the AL East and Cy Young, who is one of the few cards in the program who is just not good at all. This pitch mix just does not play well in any capacity online. 3 curveballs is just not good enough. This card is borderline unusable pretty much every time he comes out. I would stay far away from this card. I would rate this card maybe C or D tier for this release. From one of the worst to one of the best, we have 99 Jorge Posada with some crazy secondary positions. This is an S tier card for this release for sure. Most likely the best switch hitting catcher we're going to get the entire year. We'll see if Adley Rutschman gets a 99 overall, whether that be a current year finest or a Future Stars card. That card may compete with this one, but otherwise this is probably going to be the best switch hitting catcher we'll see all year. Always love Posada cards. We've never gotten one this juiced before, which is a common theme for a lot of these cards. I'm a really big fan of this program. This card is a must-have if you're looking for a new top-end catcher. Next is a couple of lefties. First one is Shawn Green from the Blue Jays. This is an interesting card. Actually looks pretty good. Almost maxed out versus righties and gold defense in right field with 78 speed. He'll play pretty good defense and really good offense versus right-handed pitching. Obviously, you know, kind of looks like a platoon bat with his attributes. I don't know if I would platoon a guy like this. It gets harder and harder to justify platooning as the year goes on because, you know, weaknesses aren't as weak, but this is definitely a good candidate for it. If you get this guy versus a righty, definitely going to crush some baseballs. Could possibly make your God Squad, especially if you're a big fan of platooning. I would give this guy an A tier rating. Next is Wade Boggs from the Tampa Bay Rays, Rip Boss Hog. This guy's got maxed out contact stock and a lot of power, more power than we usually see from Boggs, so that's really good. My personal experience throughout the years using Wade Boggs cards is he always seems to play above his power quite a bit. I think his swing is incredible. He's one of my favorite cards to use every year, so 96-93 is already pretty decent for a guy that's considered a contact hitter, and his swing sometimes can make it feel higher than that, so I'm a big fan of this card. I think this is an A/S tier card. Definitely a great left-handed bat at third base if you still don't have George Brett. This could be a great George Brett replacement if you're just jumping into the game late or you just haven't been focusing on collections. And finally, for the AL East, we have Brooks Robinson, who is one of the few cards in this release that I can't really give much input on. We usually don't get good Brooks Robinson cards. I think the last one was like that was this good was in MLB 19 when he was an XP reward. So I don't know, I haven't used him much. On paper, pretty similar to Boggs with much better defense. I think he's -8 contact versus right, +4 power versus right, and -2 power versus left. So attribute-wise, very close to Boggs, who I just spoke highly of. Obviously bats right instead of left, but this card has the potential to be very good. We'll see how he plays in game. Shortstop secondary as well. I don't know if I'd play him in the middle infield with his speed, but maybe the insane fielding attributes could make up for it. I'm going to rate this guy an A tier, but could possibly be higher for you. Moving on to the AL Central now, we have Brett Saberhagen, who's a bit better than Cy Young, but still not a great card. His control is really strong, 114 walks per 9, and he's got max control on the four-seam and changeup. Unfortunately, his pitch mix, again, is just not good enough. Only 3 speeds, only 4 generic pitches. That's really been the crutch for this card throughout the years, and 106 per 9 is not that great, especially from a card that doesn't make up for it with his stuff. So I would rate this card in C tier. Might work for you, but against good hitters, I don't think you're going to be fooling anybody with this card. Next is Alan Trammel. Really solid card all around, actually. You know, for a guy that's, you know, kind of a contact hitter as well. Pretty good power numbers as well, 93, 100. Gets diamond defense at shortstop stock with 70 speed, so pretty decent. The one thing I don't like about this card is his stance. He literally stands on top of the plate, so if you are going to use this Alan Trammel card, I would advise being ready to hit pitches inside, because people really love throwing inside pitches to guys that crowd the plate like this, kind of like Willie Mays does. So just be ready for the inside fastballs and sinkers from right-handed pitchers. Pretty solid card, though. I would rate this card an A as well. Tory Hunter, another great card from this release, and again, the best version of this player that we've seen throughout MLB The Show Diamond Dynasty. This card's great. Basically a mini McCutchen. Not as much power, obviously, but the stats for his righties are closer than you'd think. He's just missing like 10 contact. 99 fielding, 97 reaction, 82 speed. Gonna play great in the outfield. The problem is outfield is really stacked. This is, you know, probably going to make most teams if you don't have Kutch and you really want like a right-handed center fielder. Otherwise, might be kind of tough, but don't sleep on this card. This is a really good card. I would rate this card, you know, between A and S tier probably. Next is Ray Durham, who is someone I might surprise you by saying I think this is an S tier card. Attributes across the board are great. I would highly advise getting this guy to parallel 2 so you can get the diamond defense at second base. I think this is a fantastic second base option. Parallel 4 gets him 99 speed as well. But yeah, switch hitter, good enough power, great contact. Personally, I loved Ray Durham's prime card earlier in the year. I thought he played extremely well. Definitely pushing top 5 second baseman, and I would give him an S rating. And finally, from this division, we have Cliff Lee, who I already have parallel 3, so that should tell you kind of what I think about this card. One of the best pitchers in this release. I know his hits per 9 and K per 9 are kind of low. The foul balls are going to be kind of annoying on All-Star, but 119 walks per 9 stock. This dude is an absolute dot machine. This guy is going to throw pitches basically wherever you want to, and he's got a really meta pitch mix: sinker, cutter, changeup, four seam. You won't throw the knuckle curve much, but it's there. But yeah, look at these control stats: 99 on the sinker, changeup, and four seam, 94 on the cutter, 97 on the curve, and the sinker also has 97 break, the changeup 95 break. So I kind of value a lot guys that can put the ball in the places where I want them to. Depends on the pitch mix. Obviously, guys with outlier and low control can kind of get away with it. I think this is a really solid option. Probably a top 10 pitcher. I'll have to sit down and look at it, but definitely pushing it for me. I would rate this card in S tier as well. Now on to the AL West and Jared Weaver. I'm going to rate this card in B tier for this release. This card doesn't really excite me that much. He's got kind of a glitchy delivery and it's really tall, so that kind of amplifies that, but only 1 or 4 hits per 9 and only 3 speeds, and the curveball is extremely easy to read out of the hand. It's just so loopy. Just doesn't throw hard enough to get away with basically only having 3 speeds. But you know, the attributes are fine. I just don't think he is that good of a pitcher for where we're at in the game right now, so I'm gonna rate him in B tier. Next is Roy Oswald, who I'm gonna rate in A tier. This is an interesting card. He's basically exactly like Zach Greinke, just throws a little bit softer on his four seam and slider, and I have been having a ton of success with Zach Greinke over the last month or so. One of my favorite pitchers to use, actually, so that definitely bumps this guy up a little bit considering his pitch mix is basically identical. 103 hits per 9, 113 K per 9, great control as well. This is just a really solid starter, probably going to get shelled against really good hitters, but honestly most pitchers do. Gives you a lot to work with the speed differentials and the pitches that he throws, and yeah, just think he's a really solid starter. I'm rating him in A tier. Next is Pudge Rodriguez, who is a very interesting card. Honestly, on paper he's easily a top 5 catcher in the game. Max contact, good power, kind of looks like Wade Boggs now that I'm looking at it at the catcher position, which is pretty crazy, especially with maxed out fielding and 70 speed. I just haven't liked his cards much over years past. I'm not a fan of his swing at all. He may work for you. They might have improved his swing, but I don't think he is going to play as well as his attributes suggest. I'm still going to rate him in borderline S tier, probably high A tier. If you can figure out this guy's swing with the attributes he has, one of the best catchers in the game for sure. Just not really the card for me throughout the years, so just gets knocked down a little bit in that regard. Next is Ricky Henderson, who I'm rating high A tier, low S tier as well. Great power from Ricky, considering what we usually get from his cards. Obviously, he's going to have 99 speed, 99 stealing. I would again suggest getting this card to parallel 2 so that he can get the diamond defense in left field, and also very solid across the board hitting wise. Attribute wise, he actually looks exactly like Robinson Cano's extreme program card, his retro finest, so that's kind of interesting. This guy obviously bats right-handed, and another guy that kind of crowds the plate, so keep that in mind. People love pitching Ricky inside, so just be ready to hit that pitch. But I think this is a really solid card. It's a shame he can't get to diamond defense in center field and really take advantage of that speed, but still one of the best defensive left fielders you're going to find throughout the entire year, and a lot of hitting stats to go along with it. Again, high A tier, low S tier for Ricky. And finally, for the ALS, we have one of the best cards released in the entire program. If this guy was a collection reward, nobody would have batted an eye. People would have been happy about it. This Edgar Martinez card is insane. Max contact stock, 106, 114 power, and 75 fielding, which doesn't really matter at the corner infield. This is a top corner infield option in the entire game. This is debatably the best third or first baseman in the game, depending on who you have and who you like or don't like. This card's a must-have for basically every team, in my opinion. If nothing else, he should be on your bench. This guy is just an insane hitter and one of the best corner infielders in the entire game. Easy S tier for Edgar Martinez. On to what I think is the best division in this whole program, and the NL East versus Andre Dawson, who is basically the reverse Sean Green from the AL East. Dawson and Green would be fantastic platoon options if you are into that kind of thing. The attributes are very similar, just flipped for the sides, obviously. Dawson crushes lefties, 92 fielding and 88 speed. Gonna play wonderful center field. I mentioned it with Tory Hunter. I'll mention it with Dawson. If you don't have McCutcheon and you're looking for a solid 5-tool-ish right-handed center fielder, this is another option for you. Again, Dawson, a guy that crowds the plate, so be conscious of those pitches coming inside to you. But yeah, really solid card. Not as good as Green, I don't think, at the plate, just because you face right-handed pitching more than left-handed pitching, but definitely a really solid card. And again, great Andrew McCutcheon replacement. I would rate this card in A tier. Another card I would rate in A tier, Mike Schmidt. This guy is another guy that, you know, has a swing that people haven't really liked throughout the years, but the attributes on this card are really strong. You know, more power focused than contact focused, plays 4 positions, maxed out fielding. Really solid card. If you can figure out the swing, great card. Not much to say other than that. Plays a really stacked position. May consider playing him in the middle infield. I'm going to rate him in A tier though. Next is AJ Burnett, who is a card I'm pretty excited for because we haven't really had this good of an AJ Burnett card before either. He's from the Marlins, of course. Insane per nines. 114, 113 is really good for a starting pitcher, and pretty good speed differential as well. One thing that has kind of hurt AJ Burnett cards in the past when he had lower overalls was his control. So I'm happy to see that he has 90 walks per nine. And again, his speed differentials are really good. Basically like Oswald and Greinke that I talked about earlier, with a bit harder of a curveball, but much better per nine. So this card's pretty intriguing to me. I'm going to rate him high A tier, low S tier. I think this card has the potential to be very good, but I just don't know enough about him to rate him confidently in S tier because he's never gotten a card this good before. So really solid pitcher. I'll be using him a lot. I'm going to rate him high A, low S. Next is Tom Glavin for the Mets, who is a card I'm going to rate in S because I have used him a ton throughout the years. And again, this is a really, really good card. I love my finesse pitchers. I talked about how much I love Cliff Lee. This is a great Tom Glavin card, 99 overall with 107 hits per nine. You know, Glavin is usually lacking in the hits per nine department, so 107 stock is really good. And of course, what Glavin brings to the table is huge speed differential between sinker and circle changeup, and amazing control. 99 walks per nine, and you can see the pitch control on his pitches there. 99 control on sinker, circle change, and four seam. Really a sinker, circle change slider pitcher for this guy. You can see max control, max break on sinker, circle change. So I really love Tom Glavin cards a lot, man. I'm surprised when people say they don't like him very much, because he always does super solid for me. So I'm going to rate him in S tier. And rounding out the NL East, we have the best card in this program and one of the best cards in the entire game, 99 Hank Aaron, who is absolutely juiced. This is another guy who could have been like the last collection reward with these attributes and people would have been happy. This card is so insane, and he can play in the infield everywhere but shortstop, which is just crazy. Diamond defense and right field stock as well with 80 speed. This guy is insane. One of the best cards in the game. Absolutely a must cop. no matter what your team is looking like. I will say though, Hank Aaron does have push tendency, another guy that's going to get pitched inside a lot. So when you're at the plate with him, just try to make a conscious effort to turn on those inside pitches. You're going to have a ton of success with this guy. The attributes are off the charts. This card's insane. Definitely S+. 2 divisions to go. We're in the NL Central now, which is one of the weaker divisions from this content release, in my opinion. It's just got 2 of the weaker cards that you can use. One of them is Ozzie Smith, who I'm going to rate in C tier. I know it's exciting that Ozzie Smith got 99 power versus left. I know it's exciting that Ozzie Smith got a high overall endgame card, but this card is just not good enough at the things that matter in this game, personally, for where we're at in the year. Not to say the card isn't viable or usable, because every card in this program is usable, except for maybe Cy Young. But there are just so many better options for this position than what this card provides to you. Obviously, you're going to get insane fielding and switch hitting, but you can get insane fielding and switch hitting from other cards that are going to give you a lot more contact and power at this point in the year. So hate to dog on my boy, but I'm rating him in C tier. Another pretty disappointing card from this division is Joe Morgan. Would have hoped they would have just maybe juiced his contact versus left just a little bit more. This card's pretty interesting as an outfielder, actually. He gets diamond defense stock in the outfield with 94 speed, so will play really good defense in the outfield. This is just kind of a platoon bat, unfortunately, at this point in the year. If you're rocking someone that crushes lefties on your bench and plays the positions that Joe Morgan plays, maybe a solid starter for you. But another guy that, you know, just doesn't give you as much of what you would want at this point in the year. Somebody like Robinson Cano, despite being behind Extreme, I know not everyone has done Extreme, is just better at pretty much everything except speed. So I would rate this card B tier. Pretty solid card, but doesn't jump off the charts, and unlikely to make your God Squad, I would say. Next is Ryne Sandberg, a really solid card. Looks exactly like Wade Boggs with less contact. Plays second base with diamond defense and 84 speed. Not much to say here. I actually really like Sandberg cards. I think this card's going to play great. You know, play second base too, which is a position historically that's kind of hard to, you know, find someone that you like there, although there's a bunch of cards in this program with second base secondaries now. But this is an A tier card, really solid. Nothing to say other than really good. First base is a really hard position to fit someone in at. It really comes down to preference. There's always tons of power bats you could use there, so if you're looking for a new first base left-handed bat, this could definitely be your guy. This is an insane hitter, one of the best left-handed hitters in the game, and, you know, brings a ton of pop. So I would rate this card actually high A tier, low S tier, despite the fact that he only plays first base, which is a really crowded position. This is a great power bat, which is exactly what you want out of your first baseman. Also gets to gold defense at parallel 3. And rounding out the division, we have Jason Bay, which is a card that really surprised me with the attributes that they gave him. These are pretty insane hitting attributes. 110, 110 versus right, 125, 101 versus left. Gold defense and left with 62 speed is not going to be great, but as we've learned throughout the last couple months and throughout the year, honestly, defense in the corner outfield is okay sometimes if you don't have the best guy there. This guy brings a ton of power and contact. Great hitter. I typically like Jason Bay cards a lot as well, so I'm going to rate this card a high A tier, low S tier as well. Great right-handed outfield option if you're still looking for one. Final division is the NL West and Don Sutton. This card is just going to be kind of annoying to hit against. 117 hits per nine is going to make your PCI super small, and throws an amazing screwball. Actually, I used his 90 overall earlier in the year a decent amount, and his screwball just moves a ton. It's really awkward to try to square up on higher difficulties, so I would classify this as a card that's obviously going to be much better on like Legend or Hall of Fame. On All-Star, not so much, but this card is better than you would think it is. You know, 97 break on the screwball, just to emphasize what I just said. But I'm going to rate this card actually an A. I think this is a good pitcher. You wish he threw a little bit harder, but he does actually throw a hard slider relative to his other pitches, which is really good. Helps you kind of have a middle ground with speed differentials. So yeah, really solid starting pitcher card. Next is Willie McCovey, who I'm going to rate an A tier as well. Crushes righties, leaves a bit to be desired versus lefties. This card looks very similar to Sean Green, again at the plate, but plays a much more crowded position in first base. So maybe actually low A, high B for this card. a great platoon option as well, but you would just want a little bit more from your first baseman at this point in the year. I would much prefer a first baseman that can hit both sides pretty well. I would confidently say that Prince Fielder is much better than this card. Next is Todd Helton, another lefty first baseman who I'm going to rate in A tier as well. This card's pretty significantly better than McCovey also. 125, 112 versus right, very good, and hits lefties a lot better. You know, the extra contact really helps. 109 versus left there. Not as much power versus left, and gets to diamond defense at first base. Again, probably leaves a bit to be desired for your first baseman at this point in the year. You just want a little bit more like just a thumper all around. Again, someone like Prince is probably better than someone like Helton here, but still a really solid first base card, and Helton cards throughout the years have played extremely well, so we'll give him a shot. We'll see how he plays. Next is Tony Gwynn, probably the best Tony Gwynn card we've gotten, easily the most power we've gotten. 90 versus right is a lot of power for Tony Gwynn cards, so versus righties this card's going to play very well. Obviously gets the diamond defense in right field with 88 speed. I'm a huge fan of Tony Gwynn. Unfortunately, the amazing career that he had in real life doesn't typically translate that well into game. The 90 power versus right is going to help a lot. I do love his swing. I just think you only get 3 outfielders at this point in the year, and it's going to be hard to fit this guy in unless you're really a huge fan. So I'm going to rate him A tier as well, but probably not as good as a lot of other outfielders even in this program. And the final card is Steve Finley, who I am going to rate in S tier. If you guys have used Steve Finley cards before, you know about his swing. Two-handed slap swing, amazing, really comes through the ball extremely well. And I love that he's got lower contact, higher power. Also gets diamond defense in the corner outfield at parallel 1, which is pretty good, since you might be using someone else in center, but this card would be fine in center as well with 82 speed. One of the better outfielders in the game, actually. I would confidently say this is a top 10 outfielder in the entire game. Excited to use him, and easily an S tier card in this release. So just to round out the video, I know the program's been out for a bit now. I do apologize for not getting this video out sooner, but I hope it still helped you guys make some decisions. But we'll still go through the packs, and I'll talk about who I would take if, you know, I was still getting all 3 packs. So for the AL East, I would go with Posada for sure, and then I'd probably go with Wade Boggs and Sean Green afterwards, although Brooks Robinson is pretty interesting. For the AL Central, my picks would be Cliff Lee, Ray Durham, and Tory Hunter. Depending on your middle infield situation compared to your outfield situation, you could definitely justify trying Alan Trammel over Tory Hunter. For the AL West, my picks would be Edgar for sure, then Ricky Henderson, and then probably Roy Oswald, just because I really like Posada at catcher, and the catchers I was using already I kind of liked as well. So, you know, Pudge may get put on the back burner, but we'll see how he plays as well. I'll probably pick him up. From the NL East, my picks are going to be Tom Glavin, AJ Burnett, and of course Hank Aaron. From the NL Central, my picks are Prince Fielder, Jason Bay, and Ryan Sandberg. And from the NL West, my picks are going to be Don Sutton, Todd Helton, and Steve Finley. So again, sorry this video came out as late as it did, but hopefully it still helps you guys, you know, make some decisions for your lineup and who may be getting a new spot on your God Squad. I appreciate you guys watching all the way to the end very much. Let me know if you tried any of these cards and they've surprised you so far down in the comment section. Still 12 days to go on this program, so a lot to be learned about all these cards. I'm very happy that we got extremely good cards of guys that typically don't get extremely good cards. You know, someone like Tory Hunter comes to mind. So really fun program, lots of really good cards. Excited to continue grinding it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see y'all next time.